This is a retro game selling topic that came to our attention shortly after we recorded the last podcast. Bear with me. Grrr. All right. So reported on Reddit originally. So I'm guessing this is out in the Midwest. There's this chain of stores, not exactly Goodwill, but it's St. Vincent's. It's a Catholic sort of thrift store chain that gives money back, to people in need. So this is strange. I never heard of this before ever, because usually whether it's Goodwill, Salvation Army, AmVet, they get stuff in every week or two. They put it out on the shelves. So what St. Vincent's does is twice a year, they basically gather up, I guess, all their video game stuff and then put it out on a single day for people to come and buy. Okay.
And they do that with, I think they do that with like a toys, and there's a record one that they do as well.
Which could be cool, I guess, if you want a one day to shop for these things. So this is what happens when they advertise these. So this is not the first time they've done this, but I guess this is where it got to a breaking point. So people lined up outside these stores for hours and hours before they open. This time with the twist. This time people lining up at the store, and we'll focus on the few people in the front of the line because that's who people are yelling about, with big Tupperware tubs. So what these individuals are doing, we'll get into the morality of this later, but what they are doing when the stores open up, they rush in, and they're not being too discriminate about what they are picking up. They are basically taking everything they can find and throwing it into the tub. Big tub of games, 50 pounds of games here, folks. A few of these individuals that are working for one store, which we'll get into in a second. So while they then have everything in their tub, it's like, this is my zone. These are my games. They can then sift through them at their own pace and realize, oh, this is a $1 game. Oh, this is a $20 game. I want this. And going through them at their own pace. Meanwhile, I'm guessing everyone behind them is left with nothing or shit to look at while they're just like hanging out and not knowing what to do. So this got the ire of lots of retro gamers and people that were at the store or at St. Vincent's. And there's a lot of ins, a lot of outs to this story.
Yeah.
So the people accused of doing this is based, and this is all in Wisconsin, by the way. It's Video Game Exchange, based out of Madison, Wisconsin. So people were pissed, and people went to their Facebook page saying, "Oh, this is a shitty thing you guys done. This isn't fair. What are you doing? Bad business practice." Not the best response. Allegedly, they went and shouted down people complaining and said, "Ha ha."
Calling them crybabies.
Look what we got, you didn't. Posting their fines up on the page. Just everything in bad form. We know there's a way to do business, and this is how sometimes stuff like this gets done. But they were basically shoving it back into the people's faces that were complaining. At the end of the day, they got some stuff. It looks like they got some N64s. They got some other games. Probably nothing extremely rare. I didn't analyze it completely. They probably, I don't know what St. Vincent's charges. I don't know if they charge by the game or by the pound. But, they end up probably making a few $100s at least in profit. Maybe $400 or $500. I don't know. That's probably a reasonable guess. But I'm not sure it was worth the bad press that Video Game Exchange got.
No.
Rightly or wrongly, from everyone that saw them do this. There's pictures of them. People took pictures of them, incognito or not, with their tubs of games filled and going through them. Pictures of them standing in line. Now they responded, and they said we weren't the only ones that had done this. Other people do the same thing. That's fine, but you're the target people chose because you're the ones that got in first, and I guess you're the ones that did it the most or have done it in the past, and people were either there was a boiling point or this was it. All I know is that when stuff like this happens in the retro collecting community, people know this sort of stuff goes on. They don't like it shoved in their face.
I think that's
that's where it goes over the line for them. Where now we have a target we can go after that. We don't like seeing it now. We see you guys do it, and you guys are bragging about it. We don't like it.
Yeah. This is what the business has become, unfortunately.
This is the business we chose.
The thing is we've always kind of been unique in the fact that in the entire time that I've been doing this, we've never actually gone to sales or flea markets or swap meets to pick up stock. We just have a really we just have a really robust amount of trade-ins. Sometimes it gets overwhelming, the amount of trade-ins we have, so we're lucky in that way.
You don't have to deal with this.
We don't have to deal with this. I'm sure this sort of stuff goes on, and while it's really annoying and I don't necessarily agree with it, I know that it's cutthroat out there. This stuff happens. But yeah, I think it's the reaction that is probably the most infuriating part to people. You gotta watch yourself. And what's I think more upsetting about it is, well, like I said, it's the reaction, and that's, I think, the turnoff, because the main article or the main post was from a guy who was real upset because he said he's gone to that store a bunch of times, said that everyone there was real nice, the owner was a real upstanding dude, had really good prices, everything was on the up and up, blah, 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 blah. And, after reading about the story and seeing the responses, he was really like, I think I'm done. He's like, I think I'm done with that store. And that's a shame, and I don't know. It's tough. You gotta watch how you handle yourself.
Well, yeah, they hashtag after a Video Game Exchange Madison hashtagged, I guess, on their Facebook page, and people took a screenshot. St. Vinny Video Game Super Sale with what they got, which looks like, real quick, about 13 N64s, half of which had the expansion, a Super Nintendo, a Sega Master System power-based converter for Genesis. Looks like about, I don't know, 12 NES games. I can't make out all of them. I see a Super Dodgeball there. The picture you can't really blow up. About 15 to 20 Super Nintendo games, about 10 N64 games, some Genesis games. That's what they got. 2 Game Boy Advance SPs, and a few Paper Mario, Mario Kart, Double Dash, and something else looks like for GameCube. So that's what they got. So like, again, yeah, they're probably gonna make, I don't know what they charge was. They'll make like $500, $600 profit. So if you're gonna run a game store or any business, the difference between retro video games and anything else out there is that the source is all the same. You run a mom and pop brick and mortar. Your source is, in theory, the same source that any customer can get their games at. There's no wholesale price for retro video games. There's no secret place to get them at anymore. They all come from individuals that own these games 20 or 30 years ago.
Right.
So it's a competitive nature. When you're competing with the store, it's a lot different than me going down to Target and saying, well, I can buy this washer and dryer elsewhere. Because it's new merchandise. And that's where this rubs people the wrong way, because they're competing with the store that's going to then mark this stuff up immediately that they missed out on. It's a more visceral reaction with retro video games than probably even anything else I could even think of. Obviously, there's stuff like record collectors do the same thing. There's art. But I think the way with retro video games are, I think it's just, since there's so much more out there, there's so much more retro video games out there anymore than even old records, which have all dried up the past 20 years or so, or even, I don't know, vintage clothing. I guess it's not the same thing. There's not the abundance of these popping up the past few years like anything else. So people see their hobby changing, or have seen it change. They get mad at that, which I've gotten mad at the past, sometimes rightfully, sometimes probably wrongfully. But then they see their competitor right in their face do this.
Right.
This isn't the same as you or someone else owning a shop, someone else bringing in their Vectrex collection. That's a one-on-one thing. It's between them. There's no competition involved with that.
Right.
This is competition, and now that they think they're doing it dirty on top of it.
It's not between two collectors. It's not, how do I put it? It's not collection between their peers. Yes. I guess it's between themselves and the people.
It's between a charity store basically too. On top of it, so this is like the worst case scenario probably for a retro game store to do something like this. They're not playing by, well, there's no rules, but they're not playing by them in terms of the eyes of their collectors. They have these big, huge fucking tubs. I don't care if a couple other people are doing it. It's shitty. To me, that's shitty to do that. If you're gonna get a tub of shit, take it off the shelves. You got to buy it. We'll get into that, but that's what I think it should happen.
It's two wrongs don't make a right.
Yes.
And I also think it's a very simple thing where St. Vincent de Paul goes, you can't bring in a container bigger than this size.
Yeah. So actually, they've reached out to St. Vincent's, who've responded nicely about, hey, this doesn't seem right. You guys should stand up for something a little bit better than this, blah, blah, blah. I mean, at the end of the day, St. Vincent's is getting money. The money's going to go towards a good cause,
right,
or their church or whatever else. In theory, the same amount of money will be spent, but it's just how it looks to their customers. There shouldn't be... You think in this world, at a place that's the money wouldn't, even though the money's going to a good place, someone else's money is as good as the next person's. Everyone else should get a fair share of it. You'd think it would happen. I'm not trying to be kumbaya, but there should be enough to go around for everyone. This is a brick and mortar store there that they get their first dibs. They were there in line hours beforehand. Maybe they think we have the right to do this. This is what I'm going to get at, though. What you touched upon. People getting discouraged from collecting. This will discourage people.
Yes.
I've gotten discouraged from going to the flea market as much in the past. Well, I have a lot anyway, but it's not. Is it not as fun? People say if the collecting's not as fun, this stuff will turn people away. Absolutely. So this is a fine line. People running retro game eBay shops or stores have to deal with because you're running an eBay shop, or you're selling stuff off Craigslist, or in this case, which is rare for me to see people running a shop go out to these events to get stuff. You are running the risk. You're on the front lines with the same opportunity to buy this stuff as me or anyone else. You have to watch how you act.
Because
we know that you have to get this stuff, but there's a right and wrong way to do it still.
And if people know who you are, right, one, you're discouraging people from collecting because they know they can't go out to these places necessarily anymore and get anything. Two, that discourages people from collecting. Three, if they're discouraged from collecting, and that means they're not going to necessarily go out to the mom and pop shops. And lastly, if they know that it's your mom and pop shop that was causing them to not find anything at these places, then they're probably not going to go to your mom and pop shop. In the end, it could hurt your business.
Yeah, the amount of money profit they're going to get from these potential sales is not worth near the amount of money and bad PR they got from this. That's the bottom line. They may not realize that now, but it's going to trickle down. I mean, we're talking about it. We're not, and this isn't me coming down on you for what you're doing. I'm just telling you the reality of it. This is bad PR.
No, I'm not. I'm not trying to sound harsh in any way, shape, or form here. It's just matter of fact.
They do what they have to do to get their stock. People don't like it, and this is how they've responded. And they've responded to the response and probably made it worse.
Right. So,
like you said, this is the way it is. It's the business we chose to be in. I love Godfather 2. Well, some of it. Any other closing words, Ian? I want to talk about this too quick. Hustling backwards. If you feel the need, well, if you're running a store, this is how you get your stock. This is how you this is how you make a living. That's fine. It will get to a point though, which for me it's gotten to other people, where at what point is it not worth your time to go to these events, stand in line for 4 hours to get a good spot, to get some good deals on retro games, and how good are those deals going to be? Is it worth your time? Is it worth your time anymore to get up 6:30 in the morning, go out to the flea market, and find deals on games that half the time you won't find anything anymore? Otherwise, you'll find moderate deals. At some point, you have to factor your time being valuable to do other things, whether it's enjoying your life, sleeping in, or whatever else. Going out to the park, going out for a nice mimosa brunch. Very underrated. Maybe you want to do that stuff. Maybe I'm talking to myself right now because I'm getting older. But the whole point is that
I'll have the mimosa. I'll skip the brunch.
Really? Let's go to Bally High one Sunday.
Bally High, I'm all about.
We should get them as a sponsor for the show. Anyway,
I'm all about Bally High.
At some point, you're hustling backwards. That's all I'm saying. You're working hard to save $5 or $10. Your time is more valuable, I think. Maybe, depending on what you're doing. Maybe for me, it's more valuable. I don't know. I'm gonna shut up. So, Video Game Exchange, Madison, you probably have some positive PR work to do to get back on the side of retro gamers in your area and potential customers.